Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Tutorial Tuesday number 3. Today we're going to be talking about compressors versus limiters. Alright, so first off, what is a compressor? A compressor reduces your sound to a certain threshold. What does that mean? Simply, as the sound goes over a certain threshold or ceiling, it will begin to lower your volume. And what is a limiter? Well, a limiter is still a compressor, with the difference being that it has a much higher ratio. A really good limiter will tend to have an infinite ratio. This means that you can keep pushing the threshold down and no sound will ever go over that threshold. It will all be compressed or cut at a certain level. The attack will be 0, which means the limiter will react instantly as soon as any level reaches the threshold. And the release will be pretty short, meaning that shortly after that sound has gone under the threshold, it will stop limiting. So as you can see, a compressor and a limiter perform similarly, with the difference being that the limiter is a lot more aggressive. So, when would you use a limiter and when would you use a compressor? In most cases, it's best to use your compressor during your mixing portion and your limiter during your mastering portion. Now, many people do use limiter during your mixing portion, but this can create a messy and meshy sounding mix. The only time I would recommend for you to use a limiter during your mixing stage is on your vocals. Many times in your vocals, you'll find that the difference between the highest level and the lowest level in the vocals are so different. In order to get your vocals to stand out, you have to add a little bit of limiting, and that's okay. Like I said, in most cases, I recommend you use most of your limiting during your mastering portion of your session. Why use a compressor during your mixing and why use a limiter during your mastering? A compressor will give you more attack and a limiter will give you louder sounding sound. Now I'm going to give you an example of what a compressed sound sounds like. Then I'll give you an example of what a limited sound sounds like. Alright, so here we are again in Logic. So this is a sample I have already gone ahead and compressed and limited. The first example is of a compressed sound. As you can see, there's a lot more variation in the peaks of its highs and its low in volume compared to the other sample, the limited sample. The sample that has already gone through a limiter, there's a lot less variation, looks a lot more like a blob of sound. This is a common trait of a limited sample. Let's hear the difference. Alright, now let's hear the limited one. Alright, as you can see, the limited one doesn't only sound louder, it is actually louder. The compressed one is going and hitting about 18 RMS. Now let's check out the limited version. That one's hitting 6 RMS. So as you can see, 6 RMS compared to 18 RMS, that's a pretty big difference, although both of them are still peaking at 0.1 and neither of the two are clipping. So both of them are already normalized and are hitting their highest level without clipping. As you can see, it's still much better to work with a compressed version during your mixing portion, and I recommend that the limiter you don't use till the end, to the mastering portion. Now as for compressors and limiters that I recommend the Fat Filter collection. I use the Pro C compressor and the Pro L limiter. Another compressor and limiter that I recommend is the Isotope. This is what it looks like. Ozone 6. Waves also carries a lot of good compressors and limiters as well. And also the compressors and limiters that come with Logic are pretty good as well. Alright, I'm going to give you guys a quick run through on compressors. Alright, so in all compressors you will find the knobs for the threshold, the ratio, the attack, and the release. The threshold is where you want your compressor to begin to work. That is where it will begin to push down your volume. The ratio is how aggressive you would like your compressor to be. In most compressors, it will start off close to about 3 to 1. What does that mean? That means for every 3 levels above your threshold, it will bring it down to 1. If you want your compressor to be more aggressive, you pump up your ratio, in this case 8 to 1. For every 8 levels of volume over the threshold, your compressor will let 1 dB go. This means for every 8 dB of level that goes over your threshold, your compressor will allow 1 dB of level to go through. The higher the ratio, the more aggressive your compressor. Now your attack. How soon would you want your attack to be? In most compressors, your attack would be about 0.5. how soon after a certain level goes over the threshold would you like your compressor to begin compressing? So in most compressors, your compressor will leave a little bit of sound, so you still have that attack right before your compressor begins to compress. As for your release, how soon would you like your compressor to stop compressing after a sound has gone under the threshold? Now, if you would like me to do more explaining in regards to compressors or limiters, let me know in the comments below. Alright, see you guys next time.